James would be the one guy that doesn't have a chip. On one hand, particularly when you talk to his camp, and I'm gonna call him out on this. You talk to him, like, man, we came here to win a championship. That's what we came here to do.
Bullshit.
You know what? This is 1 year. We still got 3 years to go. That's one position that they take. The other position that they take, there's nothing that should tarnish or taint his legacy. Well, I got news for you, Jalen. I'm a little bit different in that regard.
So am I, Stephen A. Smith. You're not going to constantly compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan, and then every time he comes up small in big spots, because that is where the differentiation is made. It's not about who has more points and rebounds and assists and all that other shit. They're both in the 30,000 point club. So now what we're going to start to compare them on are regular season MVPs, postseason awards, postseason accolades, and championships. And LeBron James comes up short in all of those categories. Keep in mind that when Michael Jordan retired from the Bulls in '98, his shooting percentage was like 51.5% or 52%. It was when he came back to play with the Wizards and had back-to-back seasons shooting in the low 40s. That's the only reason why LeBron James shoots a higher field goal percentage than Michael Jordan right now. And remember, when Jordan came back, that was in the most intense and fierce defensive era, stat-wise, in the history of the NBA.
You go to the finals 8 straight years in an Eastern Conference that people have lamented was considerably weaker than the West. And then you finally take yourself out to the Western Conference, and the very year you get there, you go from going to 8 straight NBA Finals to not even making the playoffs. It's not like you went to the playoffs and lost. You didn't even make the playoffs. That is a very, very glaring thing that people are going to bring up about LeBron, and there's no escaping that.
Let's be honest. Who's the GM of the team?
LeBron James, Rich Paul, and Rob Pelinka. It's a three-headed monster.
Let's be honest about this. LeBron will get the coach he wants. It'll be Ty Lue or someone else he wants.
Probably not Ty Lue.
Okay, well, it'll be someone like
Ty Lue.
Ty Lue would like off on all this.
Ty Lue would like the job. I just want to let you know, Ty Lue would like the job. He doesn't want to be an assistant. His health is good. He would like the job if it were offered to him. But I'm also hearing that Doc Rivers may potentially be pursued, and obviously
Right, but what does that even mean, Stephen A. Smith? I thought you were going to say you're hearing that Doc Rivers might potentially want the job. I mean, he's going to potentially be pursued. Why would Doc Rivers go from the Clippers that have a great front office and a bright future to the Lakers, who don't have a good front office, and to be quite honest with you, don't have a bright future unless they're able to pull off some major trade, or by some miracle, LeBron James is able to get a top-level free agent to sign with the team? Why would he make that move? It makes no damn sense.
See, the one guy that Magic and LeBron would love most is Mike Krzyzewski, but nobody.
Good luck with that. This is how desperate LeBron James is at this point. He's hoping that a 70-year-old college coach will come and coach his team, the Lakers. And what's going to happen 15 games into the season when Krzyzewski's looking at LeBron James and saying, you know what, you're nowhere near the person or the player I thought you were? Because Krzyzewski will say some shit like that. He don't give a shit. He'll look dead at LeBron James and say, look, I coached Jordan and Dream Team 1. You're nowhere near the man that he was.
He thinks that that's a job that he would ever take. Those are the three names you need to keep your eyes on.
Look, LeBron is going to sign off on whoever it is, or the guy won't be the coach. And that goes the same thing for the roster guys. The bottom line about the Lakers and this season is LeBron and his people, Stephen A., can legitimately say, hey, we got 4 years to win a chip. I agree with them. But you can't have it both ways. If you needed this year to figure out what you needed, who you liked, who was the keeper, who was the one who was going to be traded, which clearly LeBron will also weigh in on.
Right, but see, they overstepped their bounds. That's the problem, Max Kellerman. They tried to gangster the rest of the NBA. And let me tell you something. When you try to gangster somebody, like that scene in the old Batman movie with Jack Nicholson. Remember when the cop tried to gangster Jack Nicholson? He was Jack Napier before he became the Joker. He tried to gangster Jack Napier. Jack Napier looked at him and said, "You better be sure. Whenever you try to swell up on somebody and gangster them, you better be sure that you're going to be able to take from them what you plan on taking from them. Because if not, they're going to get your ass back." And that's the condition that the Lakers are in right now. They were not sure. They allowed Rich Paul to talk all type of shit in their ear, and LeBron James and Magic Johnson, being a thirsty ass Negro that he is, just laughed and smiled and listened to all of it and tried to act like we're the Lakers. We're going to bring it back to 1985. Bro, this is not 1985. This is a whole different NBA right now. The NBA is moving a lot more towards that NFL model where there are a lot more teams that have a real chance to win than ever before. It's not like the NFL. In the NFL, Jacksonville could win a Super Bowl if they plan well enough. The NBA is not to that level, but they're a lot closer to that level than they were back in the Magic Johnson era, where they knew that they were going to be the best team just about every year for a 10-year stretch. They tried to gangster the other teams, and I just don't see New Orleans making a deal with them.
It ain't going to be trading players he wants to keep core pieces. I'm not talking about KCP who signed with the same. I'm talking about like Lonzo Ball or someone like that. They're not going to be trading guys he wants to keep and keeping guys he wants gone, right? But if that's the case, then he truly is responsible for this team the way a GM is.
Jalen, can I throw a couple of things out before you go, Jalen?
Sure.
First of all, add Mark Jackson to that list as well, because
Mark Jackson is desperate for a job, but I just don't think that he's ever going to get another NBA job because they know his leanings, and I just don't think that the NBA wants to deal with that right now. The NBA is heading towards, or is already in, an extremely super liberal Marxist zone right now, where they're making a lot of big money deals with corporate sponsors that also have those same leanings, and they don't want to risk having a guy who's going to stand up and talk about God and Jesus and we need to stop homosexuality and stuff like that. They don't want to have to deal with all that.
Because there are people that think he warrants consideration, and Jason Kidd. Okay, those are the 5 names. You got Ty.
I'm not quite sure how Jason Kidd can bounce back, especially with what Coach Bud is doing with a team that almost has the same roster that Jason Kidd had last year. And look at how much better they're playing. So how does Jason Kidd get another job?
You got Doc Rivers, you got Mike Krzyzewski, you got Mark Jackson, you got Jason Kidd. Those are the names you're hearing. I'm hearing more so Doc Rivers. Jalen, the reason I'm coming to you is because of this. Just a fantasy from a perspective. Magic Johnson complained about what at the beginning of the season when he met with Luke Walton? He complained about your staff. So, let's say, for example, you go after Doc Rivers, who has the license to get out of his deal with the Clippers after this year.
Right, but why would he, Stephen A. Smith? You've yet to explain why he would do that.
Even though the Clippers are feeling pretty good about themselves because they don't have a star and they got space. They plan on having space for 2 max players. Okay, so you might want to stay there, but let's say, for example, you wanted to leave. You, Doc Rivers. Ty Lue doesn't want to be an assistant. But if Doc said, I need you, you think he'd turn it down? Tom Thibodeau.
Yes, actually I do. I do think that he would turn it down. Unless the Clippers were able to land Kawhi Leonard and Kyrie Irving, or Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant, yes, I do think that Tyronn Lue would turn it down. Why go back to being an assistant for? I mean, unless you need the money.
Thibodeau is without a job. Who was the defensive coordinator, Jalen Rose, for the Boston Celtics when they won the title in 2008 under Doc Rivers? That's Tom Thibodeau. And, of course, Brian Shaw. The Lakers love him.
The Lakers been loving him, but he's been given multiple opportunities to coach across the NBA, and he's not done a good job. So, some people are just meant to be where they're at.
Potential is there if you want to fantasize about a coaching staff with Doc Rivers as your head coach, Thibodeau and Lue as your assistants, along with Brian Shaw. Magic Johnson wouldn't complain about that coaching staff. That much I can tell you.
Stephen A. Smith, you sound like you're selling a wish sandwich, bro. Stop selling Magic them dreams. Are you sure that Magic Johnson wants that scenario, or are you the person who tried to sell that scenario to him on the telephone and he said, oh, that's unbelievable. Talk about that on First Take tomorrow. Put that out there.
Stay tuned. We'll see
what
happens.
Doc. You better get someone to shoot them.
Go ahead, Jalen.
Absolutely. And Stephen A., you named like 10,000 coaches for the...
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jalen Rose.
For the Lakers. Here's the thing. You got to pay attention to the fact that they're already paying Luke Walton $7 million. They're not going to go out and pay another coach $7+ million to coach their basketball team.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Especially with the Buss family making most of their money off the Lakers. It's not like they're Steve Ballmer or Joe Lacob and they're making billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars every year through their own industriousness, if that's such a word. They're making their money off of the Lakers. So like Jalen Rose has stated, Stephen A. Smith is bringing up all these coaches, and it's like People keep trying to create this scenario where the Lakers are going to be the team that they were 35 years ago or even 20 years ago with Shaq and Kobe. It's not going to happen. Right now, a lot of these teams have to build through the draft, and the Lakers are quickly starting to become the basketball version of what the Dallas Cowboys were 10 years ago, where at one time they were known based on their emblem and the prestige that they were able to garner or create through their success in the past. But now you look at their uniforms and they're just a vestige of success. And they want you to try to believe, or they're trying to convince you that you should want to come back and reinvigorate the franchise. It's not going to work like that. They're going to have to show that they have the patience and the fortitude to build through the draft. That's how you bring back top-level franchises like the Lakers and the Cowboys. You have to say to yourself, we're going to build up through the draft. The Dallas Cowboys have become a better team when they started to build up through the draft. That's what the Lakers are going to have to do. Then that's going to make other top free agents want to come play with them. That's how you know LeBron James is not there for reasons to help the Lakers. He's there to help himself, which is consistent with his character.
And next year be paying that position $14 million. So that's a way for everybody to look at it. So these big name coaches, yeah, they have a lot of cachet. Like Coach K, that'll never happen.
Thank you, sir.
Doc Rivers, they're not going to want to pay him. So it's going to be interesting.
Thank you, sir. And once again, why would he want to go there from the Clippers?
Interesting to see if a guy like Ty Lue or Mark Jackson are going to come in at less than what they actually deserve, while Luke Walton is still getting paid the lion's share of the dough from the franchise.
Great point, sir.
I completely hear where you're coming from, Jalen. Just so you know, I asked those questions. I was told that would not be an issue.
And here's another thing.
Is that really what you was told, bro? Or do you realize that Jalen Rose is making you look bad, so you had to make it look like you asked those questions? Because I would think that if you actually asked those questions, that you would have brought up those scenarios while you were, putting forth or spewing your soliloquy. Like you should have said, yeah, the Lakers are looking at Tom Thibodeau and Tyronn Lue to be assistant coaches to Doc Rivers. And yes, I already asked Magic and Jeannie Buss about what about Luke Walton's contract, and they said it would not be a problem. You never brought that up until Jalen Rose brought it up. So I have a hard time believing that you actually asked that question. I think that more likely, maybe I'm wrong, but more likely you realize how bad Jalen just made you look there.
Thing I want to make sure I point out to you, Max. You talked about
could be lying.
Having 4
Or you could be lying. Why would you get on TV and say they could be lying? That's not something that you say about people that supposedly you interviewed and that you respect. How about maybe you're lying?
4 years to win a chip. He's in his 16th season. Okay? Now let me forecast a little bit. They're not getting Anthony Davis this offseason.
Thank you, sir.
That's right.
You know why? Because the Pelicans will not trade them to him.
Thank you. You mean the Pelicans will not trade him to them, but I understand what you're saying.
That's not happening.
Correct.
They're not going to get Kevin Durant. They're not going to get Kawhi Leonard.
Damn.
So who out there is going to be that 1-8 to LeBron next year that puts them in position
Klay
to get
Thompson,
closer
Jimmy
to
Butler, Kemba Walker. I think there are a lot of guys. Kyrie Irving. There are a lot of guys available.
Let me say this very quickly. LeBron has to hope and pray. He has to hope and pray that maybe he could sweet talk Kyrie. But once again, I don't think that any of Kyrie's statements about trying to repair a damaged relationship with LeBron James actually had to do with LeBron James. I think that he was using LeBron to try to put his teammates in the position where they would feel like they had to kowtow to him. I just don't see Kyrie going back to LeBron, but you never know. But that is his only hope. All those other guys, I don't see them signing with the Lakers. And even if they do, they're not going to help LeBron James. Like Kemba Walker. Bro, Kemba Walker is 5'11". Yes, he'll average 24, 25 points a game. But he's a 41, maybe 42% shooter. To me, he's the modern day Allen Iverson. If he's smart, he stays in Charlotte, gets paid the max, and he could be the modern day Allen, average 26, 27 points a game. Of course, he's not as good as Allen Iverson was. Not quite as good as he was. But, he can kind of create that same dynamic in Charlotte where people come and watch him play 4 or 5 times a season. He'll go off for anywhere from the high 40s to maybe even 60 points. And that'll be that. But if Kemba Walker were to come play with LeBron James, he would be the biggest fall guy ever because he's not a great defensive player and he's not a proficient jump shooter.
Kyrie Irving can't leave LeBron in Cleveland and go join him in LA.
Yes,
that would be a weak move.
I disagree.
Klay Thompson should not leave the Golden State Warriors, a team.
I agree with that one.
But is any of that impossible?
Guys,
that you could get 60 points on his 19 dribbles.
I'm sorry to do this. We got to go to commercial. It's good stuff. If you need to come back and discuss it, we can.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. Now, the answer to the question of whether or not LeBron James is a coach killer, of course, it is the affirmative. Yes, he is. And eventually, when you're an assassin, when you're a hitman, and you've knocked off all these people, someone's going to come and knock you off. So we'll see what happens with LeBron James over the course of these next 3 years. So